aboard, everybody, here to Fox on the Road. Michael Cohen here with you. We got a great guest on the program today as we are in the midst of the hockey postseason, and that is Andy MacNeil of ViSN. Andy, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me, Michael. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. First of all, Andy, tell me more about yourself. Tell me more about ViSN, how you got involved in it.
So VSiN is the first 24/7 sports betting network covering all sports from a betting perspective. I'm the hockey guy. I came through the world of sports media or came into the world of sports media through the world of sports betting for a lot of years. Would fancy myself a semi-professional hockey gambler. Did things in the shadows for the most part, not really doing things all that publicly. And then, of course, with the legalization of sports betting, a lot of opportunities started to surface with media. And VSiN was a company that I aligned with pretty early on. So I've been with them for the last few years, and it's been great.
You got a whole bunch of hockey jerseys behind you. You got the Kings, the kind of looks like the '90s version of the jersey there. The Oilers, you got the Golden Knights, the Jets, the Bruins, and you told me before you're still looking to get that Green Devils jersey at some point, right?
Yeah, I've got to get that one. I've got a retro Green Devils hat. I've got a big collection of hat over 50 47 brand hats. They're my favorite. So I've been trying to scoop up all the teams, but yeah, I still need that Devils jersey, and I think it would have a pretty prominent place in the jersey lineup over the next 5 or 10 years. So I definitely got to get that one in there.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You a Devils fan, Rangers fan? What fan are you?
I'm a Bruins fan. I grew up on the east coast of Canada, where most people are cheering for the Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. My father was a big, it still is a big Boston Bruins fan since the Bobby Orr days. So that's where my allegiance lies, and I'm a little nervous. I got to say, with Boston heading into these two games in Florida against the Panthers without their captain Patrice Bergeron, and Jim Montgomery's putting the lineup in a blender. So obviously there has to be a little bit of panic in terms of whether the Bruins depth, which has been a big thing all season long, whether it can win this series for them, because they might not have their captain Patrice Bergeron to help them get it done.
That's gonna be a problem. As a Devils fan, I'm getting ready for the summer, so I'm looking at this thing. Reality's got to hit at some point. But let's just go into this series with the Devils and the Rangers. I mean, man, I think a lot of people thought that the Devils, considering that they had scored so many goals this year. I mean, they were one of the league leaders in goals scored and in points. Jack Hughes set a club record for points this year. They thought, like a lot of people thought they were going to run the ice in this series, and that hasn't happened at all. The Rangers completely shut them down. Just your thoughts on what is going wrong with the Devils in this series so far?
Yeah, this is definitely one where a lot of people will say, "I told you so. We knew that the Devils didn't have it against this experienced Rangers team." But I mean, the Devils were the pre-series favorite. They were obviously the favorites in Game 1 and Game 2 on the money line at home. And I think if that sentiment was as strong as some people might say it was, there would have been a bigger shift towards New York in the betting market at the end of the day, and that didn't happen. But we've seen that started to happen as the series shifts to Madison Square Garden, and rightfully so, because the Rangers have totally outclassed the Devils. And I'm saying this as somebody who bet the Devils, a small bet on the Devils to win the series prior to this one getting underway, and now I'm just beside myself, trying to figure out how I didn't see this coming. Just another great regular season team that doesn't have it in the playoffs. New York has totally taken away the neutral zone, which in turn has taken away New Jersey's biggest weapon, their speed through the neutral zone. And the Devils just haven't looked like themselves at times. They've pushed, but the Rangers have had such big leads in both games that they've had the luxury to be able to sit back on those leads. And in Game 2, unlike Game 1, where they did maybe sit back a little bit too much and let the Devils push a little bit too hard in the latter part of that game, which
Hmm.
I think inspired some confidence in me in terms of my outlook on whether or not the Devils could come back with a good effort in Game 2. But looking at how Game 2 turned out and how the Rangers dominated pretty much from start to finish, a little bit of a good start from the Devils. Obviously, they opened the scoring, but all in all, the Rangers tilted the ice in their direction, and New Jersey really didn't have an answer. And then on top of that, they take so many needless penalties, offensive zone penalties that you really just can't take. And they've made the Rangers power play look really good. And, of course, Chris Kreider more than
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah, they made it look easy. I mean, even you have a situation where you have Vladimir Tereshchenko drop his stick right in front of the goal, and no one kicks it away. He just, okay, oh, there's my stick. He just picks it right up,
Did
and
you
then the puck
did
comes
you
right to him,
see
just slaps it
John
in.
Marino? And I don't want to hang this on John Marino. He's actually
Yeah.
been playing pretty well, from what I can see, and he's been one of the Devils' better defensemen all season long. So tough to hit him too hard with this. But on that 2-0 goal where Kane decided to hold on to the puck instead of passing it to Kreider and
Yeah.
walked in and roofed it back in. Marino just caught standing still at center ice while Kreider and Kane broke the other way on an 0-2, 2-0. Really just kind of summed up the Devils' playoffs here, I think, to this point.
Yeah, that, and also when you got towards that third period, I mean, the stadium, I mean, the Prudential Center was, if you want to say it was 50-50 when the game started, I think most of the fans either just left or they came back with Rangers jerseys on.
Yeah, they
It
ripped
was
off
it
their
was just
Devils sweaters and had Rangers
I think
jerseys
they
on
just had their
under it.
Rangers jerseys underneath.
I
But
actually talked to my co-host on the ViSN Hockey Betting Podcast about this. He said the series shifts to New York, and I'm like, I don't. I think it's been in New York the whole time. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it actually was in New Jersey. That might have just been an illusion, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think the Rangers aren't going to get a taste of the road until the next series when they have to go to Carolina or wherever they're going to go next.
yeah.
But I mean, it just felt like the air just came out of the Rangers balloon, the Devils balloon rather, in that second period, and they just never recovered. We saw Haller just get into a fight for no reason at one point in the third period of the game too. It just feels like for them, any kind of momentum, and I know hockey's crazy. You'd be down 0-3 and come back and win a series, but it feels like all kind of momentum for them is just out of there. There's just nothing there for them right now as they go into game three.
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, the odds are starting to seem insurmountable. I did my estimations this morning, trying to update the series odds, and just trying to get a gauge on what I think the Rangers' chances are of winning this series now up 2-0. And I've got them winning 84% of the time. And honestly, that seems not to do them. That doesn't seem like it'll do them justice given how they played in this series. This seems like it's going to be over quick, 4 or 5, and the Devils would be lucky to win one in New York. That's for sure.
You mentioned Chris Kreider just a moment ago. He has been on fire in this series. Now 4 goals. Just your thoughts about way he's played so far in the series.
Well, after game one, I started to think to myself, man, he's got a really good spot in the lineup there. He's on the first line, obviously playing with Patrick Kane. He's on the top power play playing with Patrick Kane again. He's got all sorts of dynamic players around him to set him up, and that's his knack is scoring those kinds of goals. And I think he's likely going to do that all playoffs long, assuming the Rangers go on a long playoff run. And I considered betting him to win the Conn Smythe. DraftKings Sportsbook had him listed at 50-1, and I was like, man, that might be worth a few bucks here. But I ultimately decided after talking with some Rangers, a Rangers fan friend, that it's just going to be so hard to outshine all of the other stars, especially Igor Shesterkin, when it comes to the Conn Smythe Trophy race. Even if the Rangers are in that Stanley Cup picture come the end of the spring. But yeah, I mean, it's an intriguing question. Can Kreider score enough goals to really, steal the attention away and possibly be named the playoff MVP should the Rangers win the Stanley Cup? Because I mean, his odds have moved from 50-1 to 30-1, but I think if people look around, they can still find somewhere in the neighborhood of 75-1 on Kreider to win the MVP at the end of the playoffs. And I mean, he's off to a good start, 4 goals in 2 games, and it might change once the Rangers play a team that knows how to kill penalties, because the Devils, I mean, I think they forgot how to do that sometime in the last week or so. But
Mhm.
right now, I mean, that Rangers power play is looking really dangerous and could put up a lot of points in this postseason.
Really dangerous, and we're seeing the result of those trades they made in the middle of the year. Obviously, Tereshchenko, Patrick Kane, bringing those two guys in, two guys who have Stanley Cup experience. That's really made a world of difference for them here down the stretch. I mean, they've been playing lights out hockey here down the stretch. I mean, they made a run at both Carolina and the Devils for the division title in this thing.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, To be honest, I wasn't all that happy with how they were playing. Their underlying metrics in the first last month of the regular season from the trade deadline on. I was kind of like coming into the series thinking, well, I think the Devils might control the play at 5-on-5. That was, some speculation that I had, given that they had very strong numbers in that area and the Rangers really didn't. But I definitely did underestimate New York's, game plan and their ability to clog up the neutral zone, like I said, because they've done a good job of that, great job of that, really. And I mean, I did allude to before the start of the season series, although I had some conviction in the Devils, I alluded to the fact that we'd learn a lot about these two teams in the first couple of games. And if the Rangers looked like they were really starting to put it together for the first time with those pieces, as you mentioned, look out. And I think that's what's happening here. And that's scary for the rest of the league and the rest of the Eastern Conference.
And then on the flip side, defensively, the way they shut down that Devils offense and they shut down Jack Hughes. I think he had. I'm trying to think. Did he have? I think he did have the goal, the one goal in game one.
Yeah,
Um,
penalty shot.
the penalty shot. Yeah. So it's like in no contest in that one. I mean, they have completely shut him down. What are you seeing in the way they're defending against him specifically?
Yeah, I think for the most part, Hughes has been a gamer, man. He's like he hasn't shied away from trying to get to those tough areas of the ice. He's brought it. I don't think the loss of the New Jersey Devils will be placed at his feet. I think that he's been kind of working with less than a lot of other stars in the NHL for the better part of the season. And Timo Meyer was the big addition, and of course, he scored 40 goals this year, mostly in San Jose. But
Yeah.
uh, he hasn't really shown up in the playoffs. I mean, I think that the Rangers have really taken him out of the equation in a lot of ways. But Hughes, I think he's pushing, man. I think he's trying to make something happen. Obviously he drew the penalty shot, so that was a positive. And I mean, he's had his attempts, he's had his shots, but they're doing a good job keeping him to the outside. And just in general, just boxing that Devils team out, and it's a big problem for them.
Absolutely. Uh, Looking forward to games 3 and 4. What do you think is really the key for the Rangers to end this thing quickly? Because to me, I would say just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, the way
Yeah.
they've been playing on both of the ends of the ice, just keep doing what you're doing because it's been working for them so far, especially on the
Yeah,
power.
for sure. And I thought Vitek Danacek never played up to par in game one, but in game two, I thought he was good. I thought
Yeah,
he held the Devils in early on. And I would argue that when the game was tied at 1-1, up until that point, he had probably outplayed Igor Shesterkin because the
yeah.
Rangers weren't generating a whole lot. So Vanacek, I mean, he can't be the reason that the Devils lose a game, and I don't think he was really. I think the Devils didn't come to play in game one. Hung him out to dry early, and I think he was pretty good overall in game two. The Devils just couldn't give him any offensive support throughout the game. So I don't think he's been the reason that the Devils have lost the game yet. But given the sizable edge in goaltending, I mean, he's going to have to be really good in order for the Devils to win a game, it looks like. And of course, they're going to have to stay out of the box. I mean, this was a disciplined team in the regular season. And one of the
Mhm.
reasons I thought heading into the playoffs that maybe they would be able to, kind of maintain that high level of emotional intelligence and not take stupid penalties, but that hasn't been the case. And I guess the nerves might be getting to them. And I'm not sure. Usually you think a team, well, they're going on the road, and that might, help kind of take some of the pressure off them. But they're going into Madison Square Garden, and it's a pretty hostile environment for the Devils. So I'm not sure that'll be the case.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard. You know, Obviously, can the Devils find a way to win a game there at Madison Square Garden? Of course they can. I mean, they have a young, talented team. I do think that this has been a real learning experience for them in a lot of ways. Having not
Yeah.
been to the playoffs in 6 years, and now for the first time with a lot of these young players, uh, this was a tough spot for them to be in. Even as a favorite, going up against the team that had gone all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals and kind of feels they have a mission to finish this year with the Rangers, but. I think if the Devils are going to win a game, it has to be game three. If they don't,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very, very difficult for them to try to pull one out in game four on closing night on Monday.
Yeah, the historical data is definitely not in their favor when it comes to closeout games. Teams typically do pretty well in those games. I mean, the teams that are leading and have a chance to end the series typically do pretty well in those games. So the odds certainly aren't going to be in New Jersey's favor if that happens. And you're seeing New York priced at around minus 135 right now, which interestingly enough is a bigger price than what the Devils were priced when they were in their home rink. So I think that's the early signs of a shift in the kind of sentiment of the betting market here in how they view this series. But I think if the Rangers do win Game 3 and set up a potential sweep and a potential elimination game in Game 4 at Madison Square Garden, I think as much as it's a must-win game for the Devils in that spot, you'll likely see an even bigger push towards the Rangers in the betting market, just because they are an experienced team. They've got a great goaltender, and closing out a series is easier than staying in one.